Good morning. It's been 24 years since the most lethal terrorist attack on American soil, and we all know it. We talk about the terrorist attacks of 9/11, 2021, where the Americans lost 2,977 people. So this morning we think about all those who perished and their families. If you think about the children who grew up without a father or a mother, they're all adults now, and the impact it had on their lives. And then unfortunately also on this day every year, we get all the conspiracy theorists jumping out of their holes in their boxes again to try and push their, I don't know what you want to even call it, their stupid conspiracies about 9/11, which has been debunked over and over again. And this morning, I just want to talk about two of the main ones. And I want you to listen just to logic and common sense and see if these conspiracy nutcases have any foot to stand on. So two of them that is quite prominent every year is, the one is, there were no planes flying into the buildings on the Twin Towers. Obviously, they also have the one that said there's no plane flying into the Pentagon. Well, we'll stick to the Twin Towers for today, just to show you how these conspiracy theorists can try and bend something just to get you to believe, to be gullible enough to believe in whatever they want to push their agenda. It is strange that they never mention the over 100,000 people standing on the ground around those buildings, live, looking up with their own two eyes, seeing planes going into those buildings. And they try to convince us, no, it was overlay on TV with, it was actually missiles, but it was overlaying with footage of planes on TV. But they never mentioned the people that was actually standing on the ground around those buildings in downtown Manhattan, seeing the planes with their own two naked eyes. So maybe there's technology in the world, according to them, that can fool everyone that what you actually see happening live in front of you is not happening. That's what they believe, the conspiracy theorists. The second thing they talk about, oh yeah, but the building, okay, there was planes going, some will admit there was planes going into the buildings, and then they say the buildings were demolished by explosives. Now here's where all their logic is falling out. They don't have any logic or any common sense, because anyone who understands the demolishment of a building with explosive will understand how it's set up, how it's rigged, how it's prepared, and then how it's actually executed. Now let's look at this. If you look at any video of the two buildings collapsing, you will see both buildings collapsed exactly on the spot where the planes went in. So let's start with that part. That means if it was rigged beforehand, whoever the crew was who rigged the buildings, I'll get to that now in a minute, had to tell the pilots, please make sure you hit this building at this exact floor, and the other pilot, please make sure you hit this building at this exact floor, because that's where we want to start the demolition. So it looks like, or we all saw that the building collapsed right on that impact points. So, and if you want to demolish or drop a building, it is a sequence of events, sequence of explosions in series, and it starts, you have to start at the start point. So maybe they were right. Maybe they were able to tell those guys, and no pilots was excellent to fly exactly into this 2 or 3 floors that they needed to start the explosion at. Here's the second portion. All those explosions is loaded up, drilled holes into the walls, loaded up, and then connected to each other with thin electrical wire so you can send the signal through. If that's the case, and that has to be the case, how on earth, when the plane flew into the building, it didn't took out all the wires that connects all these explosives in series? Why did the explosives in the walls at those impact points did not activate, which it may not, depends on, you need some percussion for that. It was standing in a fire. All those explosives was in a fire for an hour, a very hot jet fuel fire, and it never burned up. And anyone who knows, who's in the military, who knows about any form of explosives, especially the ones they use for this, those explosives burn like a candle. It will just burn up. May not detonate, but it will burn up. Why did it not burn up? Nothing burned up. That is just a couple of logical questions you can ask yourself. So let's look at the whole process. The biggest building ever dropped with demolitions was the Mina Plaza in Abu Dhabi. Now that thing was about a third the height of the Twin Towers, that complex. That's the tallest that's ever been dropped, a third the height of the Twin Towers. It took a couple of hundred people more than or nearly a year to prepare that building for demolition. That means to prepare the Twin Towers for demolition, you would have a couple of hundred workers every single day in that building for way more than a year, maybe up to 2 years, drilling holes everywhere to put explosives. And no one knows about this. None of the 10,000 people who worked in that building ever knew about this. How are you going to get away with that part? How will you get away with, how are you going to keep the security company silent who's in the building doing building security? How are you going to keep all the contract workers silent afterwards who actually was in there preparing the building? So if you look at all this, you can now see, just in these two cases, how all these conspiracy theory nutcases, all their logic is just falling out the door. They do not have an idea what they're talking about. Now, if it's so easy, just with logic and common sense, to debunk two of their theories, what about the rest? The rest is simple and very easy as well. So I'm not going to waste my time on the rest. All I know, this is a tragedy. And the problem is, these conspiracy theorists who come out every year out of their foxhole somewhere and try to shout again, think about the families who lost people on that day. Think about the people who lost their lives on those days. And take your conspiracy and keep it to yourself, because it's laughable. It's really, really laughable. So that's all I want to say about this. It's one of the not nice videos I ever made in my life, and I don't want to make this again. But I'm getting fed up with all these people every year who's dumping their crap on the memories of those we lost on that day. And then for all the soldiers who joined the military directly after 9/11 and because of 9/11, I'm one of them. Thank you for your service. Thank you for the 1% of the population who decided to stand up and guard this nation. And for those conspiracy theorists, it's people like me and other soldiers who give you the freedom to go talk your nonsense. Just think about that. That's all I have to say about this. Thank you.